Hi, welcome to Marvelous Mysteries, the podcast. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Jaden.
And we're going to share our mysteries that we prepared for you this week and icebreakers. But we will start with icebreakers, as normal.
Sorry, just hitting it.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I'm like pushing you.
Okay, so the first one I found is, do you like or dislike surprises? Why or why not?
I guess I don't really care. I feel like, I've had like surprises before and I've liked them, but I feel like for me, like if someone were to surprise me, like they would, like I'm trying to think of an example that would be like one that I wouldn't enjoy, but.
Would you like a surprise party?
I feel like that would be okay. Like I kind of had that when I was younger, like my family, but they would just be like, okay, go outside, we're going to decorate for your birthday and come back and we're done. So like it wasn't really a surprise.
Yeah.
But like, like every now and then, like I've had like my dad before, like I've come home and like from like school or work or whatever, and like he's like had like flowers for me.
Yeah.
Like while I was gone, like
but
those
like
sort of surprises are like, but like I don't really know. Like I'm trying to think of an example that like I would really hate if it were to happen. Like I don't know. Sorry, go ahead. I'm really trying to think.
I guess I agree with you. I like surprise gifts. I think I would like a surprise party for the most part. But I'm inclined to say no, I don't like surprises for some reason. And I think it's because I don't like, I guess I don't like being surprised with, like, bad news. But I like being surprised with good things, like, like surprise gifts or whatever. But I don't like waiting, like, before, like, Isaac's been like, oh, like, here, like, I have gifts for you for your birthday, which is a surprise, but then I have to wait for them. So I don't like waiting for, but I guess it's just waiting for things. And I'm bad at surprising other people. Like, I like to give them their, like, gifts for Christmas, like, months in advance if I got them. Like, as soon as they get the thing, I want to give it to them or whatever. I don't like waiting for that to surprise others, I guess. Okay, then what's the last book that you read?
It was the first book in the Narnia series. Or I guess it's not technically the first book, but it's like The Magician's Nephew.
Okay.
Yep. That's it.
Do you want to explain what it's about, if you don't?
If no one knows about it?
Yeah.
It's just about, it's kind of like the prequel to like the Narnia series, and so it talks about how Narnia and like the whole lamppost thing was invented or like made up. So it's about like this little boy named, I think his name is Diggory. And like he and like his friend, he becomes friends with this girl, and like they end up finding like out that like his uncle's trying to like his uncle made these magic rings like go to different worlds, and like that's how they get to Narnia. And before like how the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has like the wardrobe that they go through. Yeah. And in this case, it's the rings at first that get them to and from like Narnia and this other place where they find the White Witch. And then like near the end and stuff like that, it kind of like shows like Narnia being created and like you meet Aslan and really that. Okay.
The last book I read was called Don't Look for Me. It was like a Christmas gift so it was really nice of my mom. But like, so I gave her a list of like all this stuff I wanted. Like there was like 10 books, and I showed you them. There's like a bunch of books, and I put them like in an Amazon cart, and I was like all the stuff that I kind of had on a wish list, I put in a cart for my mom, thinking she would just like choose from it. And she, oops, I just unplugged my charger. Thank you. And she got me all of them, which is very nice of her. But she was like, do you want all these books? I feel like I was like on crack or something when I got them. And I was like, no, I'm good because I like books. And I'm more and more, I don't know what to get myself for Christmas. But it's pretty good. I mean, it's not like a super like, I don't know, like deep, like classic thing. But it's like an easy read and really nice. It's like about, and I really enjoyed it. It was like about this mom who goes missing. She's like held captive in this house, and it's that point of view. It's like over the span of 2 weeks, it's the mom's point of view from being captured, and then her daughter who's like trying to find her, because everyone thinks that there's a note left, so they think that the mom just like left the family basically, but the daughter kind of thinks she's trying to find her, even if she did leave the family, like she just left her husband and kids and stuff, because she's like, I just want to know why she left or whatever even. So, but it's good. It's like a psychological thriller. There's a twist at the end of who our captor is, blah, blah, blah. You know, that kind of thing. I liked it, though. It was like, I read it in like 2 days, so.
I need to get into reading more. Also, I feel like just from those 2 examples, you can tell how different our days are.
I like books like that, especially when I want to just read something in a day. Like, because usually they're relatively easy reads for me. I haven't read, like, I have some more that are going to be harder, I think. Like, I have this, I have, like, a Stephen King book, and usually those are just, like, a little bit, like, you have to pay attention more, you know, but I think he's a good writer. I've liked all the books I've read by him, but, yeah. Anyways, the last question is, so do you believe in aliens or, like, life on other planets?
Do I believe in other
Like, not necessarily green people, you know, but just, like,
other
just,
beings.
like, other beings somewhere in the universe.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where I'm like, yes and no, because, like, I don't know. Like, do you really think that Earth is the only place that has living people on it? Like,
yeah. And they don't, like, aliens obviously are just, like, we would be the aliens to them. So I think I do, because, like,
I mean, I really... Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's hard for me to buy that we're the only planet in the entire universe, like, not just our solar system, you know,
that
like,
has, like, the right atmosphere and,
for
like, everything
life.
like that.
Exactly. I think there's definitely something else. It might not be another human race. It might be, like, I don't know, something, but even just, like, technically life would be just, like, plants on other planets or, like, something that's alive. So I do. Somewhere in the universe there's probably something, you know?
Yeah. And the fact that I feel like there has been, like, sorry, the jacket caught a weird, like, angle in my
it's like
profile. I was like, what was that?
It's a man.
I was gonna say. Oh, I was gonna say, like, I just feel like there's also been so many, like, coincidences and things like that people are like, oh, no. Like, that wasn't, like, something unexplainable, like you know, like NASA or whatever, or whoever. Is it NASA? That usually tries to, like, cover that stuff up, or is it someone else?
The, like, Area 51 kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's just one of those things where it's kind of like...
Yeah, they might know. I saw... There's a thing where, like Obama, like, he was on, like, Jimmy Fallon or whatever, and he's like, so are there aliens or whatever? He's like, I cannot say, like, yes or no. I'm literally, like... And the guy's like, so there are, like, joking. He's like, I'm just literally not allowed to say, like, if there are or not. Like, I can't say either way. So I was like, that makes me think there are, but he just probably can't say anything because it
would start too much.
I can't remember if he was during the interview, if he was the president at the time or if it was after.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you can't say either way. So I think so. It's hard for me to believe that, like, there's, like, we're the only ones.
Yeah.
In the whole universe, not just, like, our solar system. So that's it. Okay, let's do mysteries. Did I go first last time, or did you? I feel like I did.
I don't remember. I think you might have.
So you go first. I think so.
Yeah, because I think I was talking about the lizard people.
Yeah.
Okay. So mine is about the Dropa Stones. I think it might be Dropa Stones.
Okay.
And so I think the whole thing is, like, whether they're actually, like, a fact or fiction kind of dealio. I don't know. So the Dropa Stones are said to be a set of 716 circular stone discs dating back 12,000 years, on which tiny hieroglyphic-like markings can be found. Okay, I need water. Just give me a moment.
Isn't this the plot of, like, Avengers?
No.
There's stones in that.
Yeah, but...
Obviously, I haven't seen any of them.
I'm like, nope. Each disc is said to measure up to a foot in diameter and carry 2 grooves, or originating from a hole in their center, in the form of a double spiral. So the discovery of the mysterious discs apparently took place in 1938 in the mountains of Bayan Karaula. I feel like I definitely said that wrong. On the border between China and Tibet, where Chinese professor Chi Pute detected regularly aligned rows of grooves. The skeletons measured only around 4 feet in height and had skulls. Oh, that's it. Rows of grooves. Graves. Sorry.
Graves.
It's very different meaning. So he found rows of graves. The skeletons measured only around 4 feet in height and had skulls which were large and overdeveloped. Inside a nearby cave system, Chipute and his team found interesting rock art which depicted figures with round helmets. Engraved in the rock were also the sun, moon, earth, and stars, connected by groups of pea-sized dots. Further inside the cave, the team found the collection of stone discs, most of them half buried in the floor of the cave. So that's a bit of background.
Okay.
So for the next 2 decades, it's believed that the discs were labeled and stored at Beijing University before being given to Sum Nui, I think that's how I say it, for study in 1958. Sum Nui allegedly managed to decipher the hieroglyphic characters after 4 years of study, which he claimed told the story of a spacecraft that crash-landed in the area of the cave and that the ship contained the Dropa people. One of the discs apparently said the following: "The Dropa came down from the clouds in their aircraft. Our men, women, and children hid in the caves 10 times before sunrise. When at last we understood the sign language of the Dropas, we realized that the newcomers had peaceful intentions." Sum Nui is said to have published his findings 1962 in a professional journal, and was subsequently ridiculed and met with disbelief. Shortly afterwards, he is said to have gone to Japan in a self-imposed exile where he died not long after he completed the manuscript of his work. We just talked about aliens too.
Yeah.
So this is next part is about the Russian involvement.
Okay.
So in 1968, the Dropa Stones were apparently came to the attention of W. Seitsu, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure. A Russian scientist who republished the findings of Sum Nui and conducted tests on the disc that revealed some very peculiar properties. Physically, the granite stones contain high concentrations of cobalt and other metals, a very hard stone indeed that would have made it difficult for the primitive people to carve the lettering, especially with such minute characters. As recorded in the Soviet magazine Sputnik, when testing a device with an oscillograph, a surprising oscillation rhythm was recorded, as if the scientist said they had once been electrically charged or had functioned as electrical conductors. So the next part is about an Austrian engineer. So his name is Ernst Wegener. I don't know. They keep saying, I think alternate spellings in the parentheses, so I'm just going to say what that is.
Okay.
So, because I can kind of pronounce those parts.
Yeah.
So he was an Austrian engineer who in 1974 visited the Banpo Museum in, Shaanxi province. I think that's wrong. Where he was able to see 2 of the Dropa Stones. It said that when he inquired about the discs, the manager did not provide him with any information, but allowed him to photograph them. He claimed that in his photos, the hieroglyphs cannot be seen as they have been hidden by the flash from the camera and have also deteriorated. In 1994, the German scientist Hartwig Hausdorff and colleague Peter Krause are said to have visited China and the Banpo Museum in Xi'an in 1994, where they were told that the director superiors had ordered the disc destroyed and that officially they do not recognize their existence. Hausdorff found out that the Chinese government do not have any official record of a tribe called Dropa, neither in the local area of Qinghai or whatsoever in China. So now they're just ignoring the entire existence of these stones.
Okay.
So the next part is about how, if any of the Dropa people have survived. I also still hope I'm saying that word right. There's only one P, which is why I'm saying Dropa and not Dropa.
Yeah.
But anyways, at the time of the discovery, the cave area was still inhabited by 2 tribes known as the Hams and the Dropas. Anthropologists have apparently been unable to categorize either tribe into any other known race. They are either Chinese, Mongol, nor... Did I say neither? Neither Chinese, Mongol, nor Tibetan. They are yellow-skinned with thin bodies and disproportionately large heads, corresponding to the skeletal remains found in the caves in 1938. They have sparse hair on their bodies, have large eyes, and their height measures between 3'6" and 4'7", with an average height of 4'2". So the next part is about controversies. So the Dropa Stones are immersed in a controversy, with many claiming that it is nothing but a hoax. Among the arguments against their existence are the following. It has been claimed that Sum Nui is not a real Chinese name. There is no mention of him in China outside of his connection to the Dropa Stones. According to Dropa enthusiast Hartwig Hausdorff, Sum Nui is a former Japanese name, but adapted to the Chinese language. The vast majority of names and sources cannot be corroborated.
Corroborated.
Thank you. Right, it's such trouble saying that word. And existence to the Soviet or Chinese scholars cannot be found. While reported to a tribe of people with pygmy stature, the real Dropas are said to be nomadic herders who inhabit most of the northern Tibetan plateau and who have regular height. The only photos of the stone discs do not show any evidence of the hieroglyphs and display a similarity to Bai discs, which are round jade discs dating to around 3000 BC, common in the Shaanxi province. It seems unlikely that a scholar was able to decipher and understand a completely unknown language in 4 years. Deciphering ancient writings has usually taken decades for multiple teams of expert linguists, and this is even when they can be linked to another known language.
Okay.
The stone discs were said to have been stored in various museums across China. However, none of these museums have any records or traces of Dropa stones ever being there. And so people are like wondering like if the Dropa stones in the story are just part of an elaborate hoax, or just a story, or were hundreds of discs with evidence of extraterrestrial visitation. I can't speak. To Earth really discovered, and that were the facts surrounding the case covered up.
Okay.
I think that's it for the most part. So I had like another article, but I think it just is about the same information, maybe like a little more in depth. But yeah,
interesting. It's like I'm watching like the History Channel, yeah. But like scandalous, or not scandalous, but like conspiracy. I used to watch that a lot when I was little. That's all my mom.
I feel like I used to watch that a lot too. I can't really stand it now for some reason, because I think sometimes they're a bit slow, and I'm like.
I used to watch it when I was little. I think my mom would only let us watch certain things, or it must have been free because we didn't have cable, something like that, because we didn't have cable for a long time.
Right.
So I don't know why. I think my mom loves history and stuff, like, so I think that was part of it. Is something she could stand.
Yeah. And it's educational.
Yeah, at least it's like something educational. And she also hated a lot of the kids shows, I think, like Caillou. Okay. That is interesting and cool.
Yeah.
I thought, isn't the whole point of Avengers though, like those stones?
Yeah, the Infinity Stones, but they're a bit different. They were just made from the universe, whatever I think.
Oh,
okay.
Like
they weren't necessarily.
Maybe these are.
My coworker and I had a very long conversation about where all the Infinity Stones came from. It was like an hour-long conversation of us like locating where each one came from, and then like. What they did exactly.
I've offered to watch I saw the first Avengers in the theaters like with my friends in 7th grade, but I just like chatted the whole time because I was just like going to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what happened, honestly, but like I haven't seen a lot of the Marvel movies because I'm not like I don't like action movies that much, and then just like I never had an interest, but I offered to watch all of them because Isaac likes them and stuff. But
I say they're on Disney Plus. So.
Yeah, I know. So maybe someday I'll watch them all.
I can give you the list that people have made of like if you want to go exactly in like chronological.
Disney Plus has a way you can watch them in like like it's
the
like
time period order. Yeah,
it's like not. I don't think it's in order of when they came out, but like it's like Captain America's first, I think.
Yeah, Captain America. And it was like Captain Marvel. I think another Captain America.
Yeah, but I don't know. So far, I haven't liked any of them as much as I liked Wonder Woman. So
that's okay. But I like Marvel more than DC.
I didn't ever seen any other DC movie, but I just like that one. Yeah. That's the only one I think I've seen.
I think we're getting off track for a little bit. Yeah. I was going to say that I think out of all the DC movies, that was one of the more better ones, I would say. Like, Aquaman wasn't awful.
I didn't see that.
But I definitely prefer Marvel over
I
DC.
just I was like, yes, queen. Like, because she was like fighting all those men. I was like, thank you. But yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, so mine is a medical thing, so I get to explain medical jargon again. So I don't know if this is correct because I don't know anything about the medical field. Okay, so this is called the living statues or encephalitis lethargica. Okay, so in the winter of 1916 to 1917, a new illness suddenly appeared in Vienna and in other cities and rapidly spread worldwide over the next 3 years. Early reports appeared throughout Europe as early as the winter of 1915 and 1916, but communication about the disease was slow and chaotic, given the varied how the symptoms were. They were so different, and it was just difficult to spread information because it was during the war. So until Constantine von Economo, sorry, I had to sound it out. I looked these up before because I did this on Sunday, but then I forgot, obviously. Identified a unique pattern of damage among the brain of the deceased patients and introduced the unifying name of encephalitis lethargica, I think. Reports of the protein disease came under a range of names. Just 10 days before his breakthrough in Vienna, Jean-René Cruchet described 40 cases of subacute encephalomyelitis. I don't know. I'm so sorry. In France. So he found the same disease called it something different in France. So there's a different form of this called just encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain. This is also known as sleeping sickness or sleepy sickness. I don't know what's different about this. I think it's somehow he said the damage of the brain.
Okay.
So a number of people were infected in the 10 years of the pandemic, which now is
oh,
now
no.
every time I hear that word,
no.
I'm oh gosh, is known. But it's estimated more than 1 million people contracted the disease and caused more than 500,000 deaths. The disease was assumed to be most harmful between October of 1918 and January of 1919. But the pandemic disappeared in 1927, very abruptly as it almost started, it says. So here are the symptoms. So the disease attacks the brain, leaving some victims in a statue-like condition, speechless and motionless. So this is a quote from someone I found. So it said, they would be conscious and aware, yet not fully awake. They would sit motionless and speechless all day in their chairs, totally lacking energy, initiative, motivation, appetite, affect, or desire. They would register which was around them without active attention, or they were just they were just super indifferent. They neither conveyed nor felt the feeling of life. They were insubstantial as ghosts and as passive as zombies. No reoccurrence of the pandemic has ever been reported. Oh, but though sometimes isolated cases do occur. So this never happened really again.
Yeah. Sounds like a nightmare.
Have you ever read, there's I think it's a short story or something. I don't know who it's by. I want to say Stephen King, but it might just be fake. It's about a guy that has that, but he's being has an autopsy happening to him, but he's completely aware and can feel everything.
I hate that.
Yeah. And it's the people that were sleeping in their graves, so they did the bells.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It makes me super anxious too.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this is characterized by high fever, sore throat, headache, lethargy, double vision, delayed physical and mental response, sleep inversion, and catatonia. In several cases, patients entered a coma-like state. They also experienced abnormal eye movements, Parkinsonism, upper body weakness, muscular pains, tremors, neck rigidity, and behavioral changes, including psychosis. And sometimes a vocal tic is also present. So many surviving patients seem to make a complete recovery and return to their normal lives. However, the majority of survivors develop neurological or psychiatric disorders, often after years or decades of seeming perfect health. The post-encephalitic syndromes varied widely. Sometimes they preceded rapidly, that was kind of a weird sentence, sorry. Sometimes it happened really quick, and led to a disability or death. Sometimes the post symptoms were really slow. Sometimes they came to a certain point, then stayed at this point for years, decades even, and sometimes their initial symptoms came back and then disappeared. So then there's also post-encephalitic Parkinsonism, which Parkinson's is like the degeneration of the nerve cells, which leads to Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most widely recognized symptom of this. So there's a bunch of theories about this disease. The German neurologist Felix Stern, who examined hundreds of the patients during the 1920s, pointed out that the disease typically evolved over time. The early symptoms would be sleepiness or wakefulness. The second symptom would be to oculogeric crisis, which is a reaction to certain drugs or medical conditions characterized by a prolonged involuntary upward deviation of their eyes. So I think they just are like looking up.
Yeah.
So the third symptom would be recovery followed by the Parkinson's-like symptoms. Sorry, I'm just grabbing water. If the patients of Stern followed this disease, he diagnosed them with encephalitis lethargica. He suspected it was kind of without evidence that it was similar to polio, and he experimented with convalescent serum, which is just like a vaccine, basically. Of the survivors with the first acute syndrome, he vaccinated patients with early stage symptoms, telling them it might be successful, which, like, that's just funny that he's just like, we'll just try this. Like,
it might work.
Yeah, like today, that's like the FDA regulates all that. Like, you have to get a lot of approval. Like, but it was the 1910s.
Yeah.
So EL is what it's referred to, and it's easier to say, was an acute, this is one of the theories, it's an acute form of the focal encephalitis caused by a neurotic virus with epidemiology compared to polio. They described EL as a prodrome or of fever, pharyngitis, and seemingly random occurrences, which are all similar to polio, but polio has a different season. They thought transmission of EL was like respiratory or intentric, which is the intestines. So I don't know about, like, I guess you just, whatever. Though they never found the route of the virus. Although in the early 1950s, there are many technical constraints surrounding I think that the 1950s, this is when they started testing.
Mm-hmm.
There are many constraints surrounding the virus tissue culture. And the belief that polio was exclusively neurotropic delayed the vitro isolation of the virus until 1949. By then, the epidemic was over. So they didn't even get to, I don't know what that means necessarily, but I think it means like they couldn't do anything until 1949. And by then, like, no one really had this disease, so they couldn't study it very much. So another theory was that it was due to an activation of the human virus on an attack of influenza or some other acute insult. So they think, like, basically it's like when your body attacks the influenza or the flu during the time, because it's also kind of around the flu epidemic, I believe. So, like, they thought it was like some side effect of like your body attacking and trying to fight off the flu. So then I kind of explained that. Okay, so they thought in 1918 the idea drew further support from the recognition in the 1920s of post-vaccine and post-measles encephalitis. However, both of these had an incubation period of less than 2 weeks, whereas the interval of the onset EL was longer and more viable. So I'm guessing, I don't know what that means honestly, but like they were thinking it was like side effect of measles or the flu, or like, but those only have an incubation period of 2 weeks, so maybe they can only last your body 2 weeks or whatever. Okay, so the next one is that it was a post-streptococcal illness, which I think is just like strep throat. It has an analogy with Sitem's Korea. And that disease presents 1 to 4 weeks after a rheumatic feat with involuntary movements comparable to EL. So between 1919 and 1920, several people isolated, like, I can't even say this. It's like a strain, I think, from EL patients. They had this strain of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next one is that it was non-infectious. It was just a condition due to some sort of toxin, or dietary lack of something. So because of due to the war, a lot of people didn't have all the vitamins they needed, or like got to whatever. Like they didn't have the correct diets. But the problem with that one is that it didn't spare the privileged class or whatever. So like that means that it can't be only related to a vitamin or a dietary deficiency. Although, I mean, maybe there's something in the water or something, I don't know, that like some people did.
I was like, you see it being like more of like a toxic
thing like there's something in the water or in the
anything
air.
In the air.
Yeah, like
there's
anything. Anything, because there's no regulations or like they didn't know anything, And that's like, I think that's around the time too when like they just like kept expanding cities and stuff, but with no like idea about the environment and like the causes it would have. Okay, so then the last one is that it's just a ragbag diagnosis, which basically means like like it's just whatever. Like these people didn't necessarily have all the same thing even, or they did, but it's like something else. There's never been like any sort of test for it. Royal-free disease or chronic fatigue syndrome might have been categorized as EL, which is like another disease. It could be like something else. Like basically it could have been just nothing. Like it was something else, or it's like just a coincidence that all these people had like the same thing, or maybe it was mental illness, or maybe it was like something else. Like it's just like they put a name to something that didn't need a name, possibly. Yeah, so like the weird like movements and stuff of people could have been just hysteria, and like that could be it, because like I mean you can find patterns in anything, right? So like, but I don't know, I mean it seemed to be like these doctors had several people infected by something very similar, but it seems like there's stuff now that's similar to this, and it's not this. So
right,
I still don't know the difference between that and like that thing that I told you about with the autopsy.
yeah.
Like, that's just like a story or whatever. But I think the 1800s thing was like, I think there was like no way to tell if someone was alive. Like they're just like really still, or like their heart stopped beating, but there's no electronics to actually tell, or like brainwave thingies.
That'd be so awful to like. I don't like that that thought, or like.
Yeah, I know.
But isn't there like, I don't know what it's called, but I mean there is kind of like a paralyzing kind of thing that like some people go through, especially if they have like a traumatic experience, right, where like they don't really know what's happening around them. They're just very like
the catatonic.
Yeah,
so it could be like hysteria, or like I don't know, I don't want to say hysteria, sorry, I dropped things, I'm pulling, but like some sort of mental thing. Like I mean the war was going on, so and by that, at that time too, there's no such thing as post-traumatic stress disorder,
right,
really any sort of mental illness like standards. So it could be something like that, I don't know, but yeah, it was just like interesting, I guess. So yeah, that's all I have.
I was gonna say something, I forgot. I was like, I just zoned out.
So
but yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening. This is gonna be the last week that we do weekly of marvelous mysteries. It's just,
well, we're gonna keep posting, but we're gonna start like a new category, I guess, or like a topic,
another podcast.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same channel, right?
No, different.
Oh, a different channel.
Yeah.
You want to do a different channel, or do you want to do the same one? Just
I'll explain to you later.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. But
we're starting something else that will be released every other week, and once we get that figured out, we'll let you guys know if you want to listen to that as well. But we'll be doing this podcast every other week from now on.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Next week we'll see you with
something else. Yeah. We'll link it and when we get it more fleshed out, but
yeah, we'll let y'all know
when it's more official. But thank you so much for listening. You can comment, like, subscribe. You can send us questions, topics that you want us to like discuss. You can, our link to our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is in our bio, so you can click those. Send us a message, send us a DM or whatever, and yeah, or comment on YouTube. So Thank you so much for listening.